Forget gurus. Forget anyone claiming to be an online business expert without going through the challenges of entrepreneurship themselves. The Real Money, Real Business podcast is here to prove the best insights in online business comes from your fellow online business builders. We dig into stories of entrepreneurs selling their business on the Empire Flippers marketplace so that you can learn how they made their business profitable, how they overcame obstacles, and what lessons they learned in their online journey. If you want to take your business and your knowledge to the next level, you've come to the right podcast. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, Brandon here with another great business to discuss on this episode of the Real Money, Real Business podcast. Today's guest is Brian, and he's selling his 3-site package of Amazon Associates and advertising business on the Empire Flippers marketplace. So welcome to the show, Brian, and how are you doing today?
Thank you very much. It's good to be here. I'm doing pretty good.
That's great to hear. I'm really excited to talk to you about this business, Brian. But before we get into the interview questions, let's go into a quick summary. So it is a 3-site package of Amazon Associates and advertising business in the food and beverage niche, and it was created in 2014 in May. The average monthly revenue for the business is $5,396 and makes an average of $5,104 per month in net profit. For everyone listening, you can visit empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing 47386 to learn more about the business, or you can unlock this listing to start your due diligence if you're interested in purchasing this asset. So now that I've given a general overview of the business, included in the sale are 3 domains and all of their site content and files, an email list with over 1,050 contacts in total spread amongst the domains, and social media accounts for Facebook, Pinterest, Twitter, and YouTube, as well as individual accounts for those for some of the domains included. Now, Brian, can you tell me a little bit about your background in building and running online businesses?
Sure. I mean, it started back in 2009, really, when I got my MBA and done a lot of writing. And then I just started working on a blog in my spare time because we were in the Great Recession. And from there, I just learned a little bit here and a little bit there. And over the years, I've become a online business creator. It's just kind of spiraled, not necessarily out of control, but yeah, I've just learned and gotten bigger over the years.
Yeah, that's really great. And then, so was there something that kind of sparked your interest in starting a content-based site when you were first starting off, or was it something that you just kind of fell into while you were learning how to do online work?
Oh yeah, it's just totally something I fell into back, 11 years ago or so. I just started reading about blogging, and of course, blogging is just strictly content, nothing but content. And back in those days, the most of the revenue blogs got was from display ads at the time, AdSense. And so, blogging turned into content, website creation, a little bit of affiliate site stuff. And, I got caught up in the mix of making a bunch of really thin sites back in 2010 and 11, which was all the rage at the time. But yeah, you live and you learn and you get better. And now I build big sites, big-ish, not enormous, but big sites that make quality money. And they're sites that I'm proud to, show to friends and family.
Yeah, no, it's really great to hear. And then, on the subject of making money, so how do these domains or the businesses primarily make money then? Is most of the revenue coming from Amazon Associates, or is a majority of it coming from the advertising revenue?
Well, these days, I do a mix of advertising revenue and Amazon Associates. I have experimented with some other affiliate programs. Most recently, even this past holiday season, I experimented with the Walmart affiliate program. But I end up getting 70, 60% of the income on all of my sites from Amazon Associates and about 30 to 40% from display ads. These days I use the Ezoic ad management company to do the display ads, but I haven't really made any substantial money through other affiliate programs in a couple years. Yeah, I just stick to the big two, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, why change something that's working for you, right? With, based on the data
Exactly.
that you've gathered. Now, does the total revenue stream for this business, is it split amongst all 3 of the domains, or is there one that's kind of leading the way over the others?
Well, all 3 make fair to good money. However, one of the 3 domains makes more than the others. Really, if you were to put a ratio on it, it'd probably be, out of 10, one of the sites is probably making 50% of the income. Another site is making 30%, and the other site's 20%. That's ballpark. I'd have to run the math to find out exactly what the mix is. But it's something like that. One of the sites is very well monetized, in my opinion. So the site that makes the most money also makes the most income for every 1,000 visitors or page views or however you want to break it down.
Okay. And then, so, why did you decide to choose this specific business model instead of going into something like an Amazon FBA business or maybe even just a strictly content and advertising site?
Well, I dabbled in Amazon FBA. This is 5 years ago. I just didn't like it. There's nothing wrong with it at all. I just didn't enjoy that kind of work. This is much more passive work. I'm a stay-at-home dad, and I used to work in banking, but my wife has gone off to do a job that requires a lot of hours out of the house. So I'm at home a lot. And so any business that I take part in needs to be a low time commitment, or I should say, the time commitment needs to be very, very flexible. And, when I was making phone calls to, manufacturers and packaging, I just didn't enjoy the FBA lifestyle. This makes perfect sense for me. I can sit down whenever I have the motivation, the time, the inclination to work on expanding these businesses. If I wanted to hire out jobs, I would do it. If I wanted to take 60 days off and do nothing at all, except for update plugins, I would do that. So it just worked really well for my lifestyle.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. And like you said, having to worry about some of the logistics or maybe even the inventory management side of the model is really great for, those who'd like to kind of step away a little bit more on the sweat equity required to maintain a business. Now, so, why did you choose this specific niche in the food and beverages market? Was there something that stood out during the beginning stages in, kind of researching what content was really gaining the most traffic and capital?
Actually, that's a kind of funny question because when I started this business way back in 2014-ish, 13, I can't remember. You might even know more than me since you've gone through my history. But at that point, I was coming off a leg of making a bunch of thin affiliate sites back in the 2011, 2012 range. And, they were all like keyword driven. This site was literally something I started just as a hobby to break up the monotony of making these thin businesses. It was just something that I enjoyed. It was something that I cared about, and it was just a hobby. So the content that I put on it was a heck of a lot better. And although for the time, back in the 2014 time range, you could still rank websites with short form content. So a lot of the content back then was fairly short form, like 500 word 400-word articles and whatnot. These days, it's different. But point being is this started as a hobby on something that I enjoyed and cared about. And it just expanded as it suddenly became apparent that this was the way that my business needed to start going.
Yeah, that makes sense. And, also it being a hobby and something that you're interested in also, I'm sure, was a strong motivational factor to put in more content into the business and grow it from there. Mm-hmm. Now, Brian, why is it that you've decided that you want to sell the business at this time?
Well, to be completely honest, we're about ready to have our fourth baby. And I've got a number of other websites and other online businesses that have nothing to do with this package that we're selling. And this just takes something off my plate. It's not that it requires a lot of time, but when you own a business, the temptation is always there to work on it, to expand it. Well, I'm just not going to have the time to work on and expand all of my businesses as we've got a new kid coming into the world. So yeah, this kind of pays for a little bit of maternity leave and buys some diapers, and it also takes a lot off my plate.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. And that's, something that I've had a couple other sellers have, new addition in the family, and congratulations on that as well. And being able to take some of the workload off the plate, as you mentioned, you can really start to focus on other projects and let someone that has the time to work on this business really grow it to its full potential. That's really great.
Yeah. Honestly, just to dovetail off that, you can hold on to something, whether you're not working on, especially this style. But man, when you've got something that's working well, let me tell you, you are always tempted to add and to improve. And it's that work that requires time. So anyway, I don't want the temptation to work too much over the next year. So
Okay. No, that makes sense. And then, I mean, is there anything that you learned while you were growing this business that, down the road you plan on applying to these future projects?
Oh man, I've learned so much putting these three properties together, especially since I started on them, so many years ago. Over the years, I mean, these projects are old enough that they have spanned a few iterations of Google. Things operate differently now than they did in 2014, and they operate differently now than they did in 2017. And I'm sure that looking back on 2020, I'm going to be thinking, oh man, things are so much different in 2022 than they were in 2020. So you learn so much along the way. And the way that I build businesses like this now are completely because of the work and that I put into these businesses. So yes, the way that I build a business right now is completely influenced on what I've learned over the past few years just working on these.
So on the flip side of that, with what's been working, is there anything that you might have tried with these businesses and it just didn't give you the ROI that you were expecting?
Short form content, though it worked back in 2014, one of these businesses, the oldest one of them all, one of the oldest web property of them all, is the one that started with short form content. And it did really great out of the gate. And then I kind of put that business on, I don't know, like standby. I just kind of like owned it and just let it operate without touching it for a couple years. And I was able to see, like literally just looking at my stats, looking at my traffic, looking at my revenue stats, I could just see the gradual decline in the way that the business worked, not because of any algorithmic penalty or anything like that, but simply because of the changing landscape. Long form content has been, enormously helpful over the past few years. And so one of these sites, like the oldest one that I mentioned before, that started out as kind of a personal project with 400, 500 word articles, slowly degraded to the point where it just wasn't getting very much traffic or income. And then all I did over 2019 was expand the content of most of the articles on the website, republish them 2 to 3 times as long, added a little bit more content. And now all of a sudden overnight, or almost, it seems like overnight, the site is suddenly making like 3, 4 times the traffic that it was 9 months ago. So over time, you can see how your efforts can make the business work better. On a day-by-day basis, it's a little bit hard, but if you look at like 6-month blocks, 12-month blocks, you really understand what efforts work and what efforts don't. So, back in the day, I used to do a lot of link building, and I know a lot of other people still do that in various forms. To me, it was a distraction. It's very easy for me to just build content, improve content, make it better for the reader, hire content if I want to. And I just don't think about any of all that. And this stuff grows better than anything that I've ever done in the past in any other way.
That makes sense, especially with the ever-changing landscape with Google and I guess valuing more information to answer the traffic or the reader's question in a more in-depth fashion is something that is also changing, I guess, as you had mentioned, going from short form to long form now being taken more precedence. But on the subject of traffic, though, so does a majority of your traffic for these businesses come from organic search, or are you also running some PPC ads to the domains?
Vast majority of it is organic search. I have like a smattering, just a handful of articles that get regular traffic from Pinterest, but without crunching the numbers, I would probably say 85% of all the traffic just comes from Google search. Just regular people around the country and the world. I mean, mostly it's US, Canada, UK, but it's just people asking questions, doing product research, trying to figure out how to do something. And my websites answer those questions. And people come. Not every page is trying to sell anything. In fact, all three properties combined, with none of them really deviating, from the trend, probably only a quarter of the pages on each site are really trying to sell anything at all. It's mostly just information. It's just what people want. And those are the pages that do well for display ads, and the pages that are, more commercial in nature, they do better with affiliate sales. And as far as I'm concerned, I do well with this model, and I think any reader that lands on the site is, fine with the content and happy with the content that they find.
Yeah, no, it's also a great value to the reader as well, is not always trying to sell them on something, but offering a lot of great, useful information to get them hooked into your content. And later, then you can retarget them and do things of that nature. And on that subject, are there any other types of forms or even forms of marketing that you're currently doing for the business? I noticed you had over 1,000 subscribers with your email lists. Are you doing anything as far as promotions are concerned with that?
Well, so back in 2019, maybe going back into 2018, I decided to start building up an email list. So at the time, the two sites that were getting the most traffic, I started building a list. So I created like an opt-in, people drop their email to get access to a PDF kind of a thing. So I started building the list up, and every now and then I started researching how to market to the list. And for me, it's just not my style. Like I said before, when it comes to like the Amazon FBA, like, I don't know, it's just not my style. I know lots of people thrive on email marketing and they do really well at it, but I'm just going to say, it's not for everybody. If it's for you, if you're listening to this and it's for you, then you've got the ability to reach out to, a very targeted audience. So yeah, the list split between two properties. So it's probably about 60-40 between the two higher traffic properties. But yeah, it's a targeted list, and these are people who have opted in and they've interacted with my web properties for a couple, for minimum 2 or 3, page loads. They come on and they read something and then they decide to download a guide and they click a few links. So these are, purposeful opt-in. So I think it's a value add for someone who is interested in email marketing, but I haven't used it. I haven't ever done PPC. This kind of jumps back to your previous question, which I didn't answer. No, I've never done PPC for any of these properties. I've also, I don't know, maybe I ran a Facebook ad or two years ago, but I don't use Facebook ads or any other kind of thing. The only other traffic generating thing that I've worked on other than organic search lately is Pinterest. So one of the properties, in fact, my higher traffic property, the one that's makes the more revenue than the others, that one also gets some Pinterest traffic, and I've worked a little bit on that Pinterest account. But again, for me, although the Pinterest account works, it's just not how my mind works. So I know for a fact that if some Pinterest-minded person took over, that would be definitely a growth opportunity because it's a fairly well-established Pinterest account with some followers and actual traffic that comes through. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And, the week as far as it's concerned as of today, what are some of the typical tasks or operations that you're performing on these businesses?
Well, I just wrapped up some A/B kind of split testing on my two larger traffic properties. I used a company called Convertica. Feel free to look them up, but they basically do split testing for conversion rate optimization. So literally wrap that up today. Yeah, I got that whole piece of the project is done today. But other than that, doing your nuts and bolts, updating plugins and themes and whatnot. Every now and then I have to go on to the hosting account and take a look at something. So, if you don't do things like that, then sites just stop working. But other than that, I go through periods of time where I do a lot of expansion projects on the site. So I will expand existing content. I'll add existing content. Every now and then I'll take two pieces of content on the site and merge them into one and, set up some redirects, Another lately thing, I keep saying lately, but one of the more recent things that I've been working on is a lot of the on-site navigational, which would fall into user experience. So if person A lands on page A and they read it, I don't want random links on that page going to miscellaneous pages elsewhere on the website. I want to direct them to the things that they're most likely to be interested in. And at the same time, I also want to direct them to pages that would be orphan pages on the site, just to you need to have your site well interlinked for, on-site SEO purposes. So that's been a focus of mine recently. And of course, I've been setting up some manual silos on some of the sites to make that a little bit more structured. But yeah, user experience is really big right now. And so things like that, those are just projects that you take on, that I take on whenever it makes sense for me to do so. These aren't things where I got to answer the phone every day because people are calling. I don't have to manage staff, with regular jobs. It's just whenever the kids are in school and I don't have anything else going on and I'm inspired to expand the business instead of binge watch Netflix, then I'll jump on and do that. But yeah, work on the business right now is purely keep it online and expand it whenever I feel the urge to do so.
And on the subject of expanding the content, so are you writing a majority of this content, or are you starting to kind of outsource some of the content creation as well?
Well, I've gone back and forth on that also. So a lot of the content, the oldest content, the stuff dating back to 2014, 2015, 2013, that sort of stuff I wrote 100%, except for none of that stuff exists anymore because that was all short form stuff. So since then, I've taken those same published URLs and I have manually written more to add to them. I've also hired out writers to write segments of articles. So I don't have a lot of articles that I have hired out for other gig workers to write in their entirety. Lots of times I have hired writers to write draft posts that I then go in and heavily edit and expand on. I learned, this is another one of those things where you just learn by doing it. Years ago, I would hire writers to write a full article. And then when you go to publish it, you have to edit it, you have to format it, and you have to do lots of stuff to it to make it look and read well and fit the style of your site. You'd even have to fact check on some of these writers, depending on who did the writing. So I just stopped trying to get perfection from writers, and I would just get drafts. And it was a lot easier for me, and it was a lot more cost effective for me to have a writer bust out a draft that then I go in and make better down the road. All of that, I haven't really done a whole lot of that on these properties over the past 12 months. The vast majority of everything that's been published on these properties over the past year is basically 100% written by me. So I've gone through stages. I mean, currently I have other properties not involved in the sale that I do 100%. I have other people writing 100% of the content. And then, of course, I edit it. So, it is what it is. Everything's a little bit different. But with these properties, most of the stuff recently has been 100% written by me. And anything not written by me has been mostly heavily edited and improved upon by me.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. And if you're able to kind of capitalize on the option of having someone create a first draft and then go in and kind of using your own voice or using the brand's voice from there with further formatting and editing before it's published, it's, a great opportunity to really capitalize on, using your time wisely as far as getting more content pushed out. So that's really great. Now, Brian, are you willing to commit to a non-compete, meaning any of your future projects or businesses that you currently are working on that you'll stay out of this specific niche?
Yeah, I mean, I've got current projects other than these three that are my primary focus for 2020, 2021, and they have nothing to do with this niche. So that's perfectly fine. I mean, I've been in this niche for years now. Obviously, I know it well, but, when you're in something for a long time, it loses its luster. So, currently I'm working on new projects, newer niches that I also find interesting. Most of the things that I work on are projects that I find interesting. It's not because I go out looking for, statistically or on paper, the most lucrative niche. I look for things that I actually care to work on. Since I like to do a lot of the work myself, I need to care about it. So there are other things that I care about, and those are the things that I'm working on now. This niche, I'm perfectly fine taking a break from for the foreseeable future.
Okay, that's great to hear. And then, how much support are you willing to offer potential buyers? Are you going with the typical 30 days of email and Skype support, or did you have something in addition that you would like to add on to that?
I mean, I'm a nice guy. So, I think on the listing, it says 30 days, like your normal 30 days support. I'm just a guy. If someone wants to buy this, I mean, they're dropping a good sum of money to buy this this site package, I'd be happy to answer, questions. I mean, I don't want to be involved on the day-to-day operation of this business for the next year and a half. But naturally, there's going to be lots of questions and lots of little things that a buyer might want help with or clarification on, or what happens if I turn that plugin off? How is this created? All of that sort of stuff. I'm available by email.
Okay. No, that's really great to hear. And then are you open to negotiating something like an earnout where you'll receive a large portion of the sales price up front and then maybe smaller payments closing out the deals several months after that?
Oh, goodness. I've never even thought about that. Yeah, I mean, I'd be open to entertaining, not all cash offers, I guess, if I can put it like that. Like literally, I haven't thought about that at all until you just posed the question right now. So, if someone wants to make an offer that is not, just a lump sum, I would entertain it. I'm not going to guarantee that I will accept it, but I'll entertain just about anything. These are businesses, and I may be a stay-at-home dad, but I am a businessman when it comes to, how I pay the bills. So, yeah.
Okay. No, it's great to hear. And I'm sure any potential buyers that are listening to this call, they can see the value and, the possibility at that being something that you'd be willing to negotiate further stages. Now, just a few more sideline questions for you, Brian. Is there anyone who inspired you while you were building or growing this business that our listeners might like as well?
Oh, man. That seems like a direct question, but it seems so open-ended. I don't know. I have listened to podcasts of other SEOs and niche site builders and long form content, YouTube guys. I mean, there's tons of them. I learn a lot on my own on the fly, but I also subscribe to the theory that you can learn something from just about anybody. So, I mean, there's a lot. I guess right now, if I wanted to call out, name drop someone out there right now that a listener could go check out that preaches what I practice is the guys over at Income School, Jim and Ricky over at Income School. They basically do exactly. I didn't know them, or I didn't know who they were 2 years ago, but this is what I've been doing for 5-6 years now. So I was interested in what they had to say because they were teaching other people what I do. So, they've been not necessarily an inspiration, but they've been, I don't know, it's like they make me feel like they validate what I'm doing, basically.
Okay. Yeah, no, I completely agree with you on that. And, they also offer a lot of great resources in their channel as well. Now, what advice would you give to our listeners that you wish you knew when you first started this business?
Help the reader first. Like if you're going to be starting or purchasing or running or being involved in any way a content business, you got to understand that the reader is looking for something. I mean, this isn't a blog where people come and they want to find out what I'm doing today or what I'm planning on doing tomorrow. No, these are people who are looking for information. And if you give them poor information, then you're not serving them and you're kind of damaging your brand in the long run. You think about what the reader needs, you think about what the reader wants. Sometimes they're two different things, and you kind of balance out those two things and try to provide content that they need and want. And, years ago, most content people years ago weren't doing that, where everybody was looking for the shortcut. And the shortcut just doesn't work. I mean, that's what I wish I would have really learned. I tried to learn it, but I didn't get it. Maybe I just need to grow up a little bit.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. Pushing out a lot of content at the beginning of my online stage and didn't realize the value in offering quality content over, the quantity, right? Now, was there any specific software or tools that really helped you at the start of building this business, Brian?
Not really. I mean, WordPress. WordPress is, the platform that all three properties are on. The times that I've hired writers, I've used Upwork to find people to help me out with like coding problems or, editing. Like I've used an editor in the past, not in a couple of years, but, Upwork is basically just a way to find gig workers to do, whatever you don't want to do or whatever you don't know how to do. So that was useful. Years ago, I used some keyword research tools, which I've all but abandoned. I haven't used a keyword research tool in years. It's all just natural. I know the niche. So I know when something comes up that people are going to have questions about. And, you can find that out even through just doing the alphabet soup Google method. And so I've used that. But no, I mean, this is all, I hesitate to say intuition because I think anybody can do this. This is not, I'm in the food and beverage niche. This is not a complicated industry. So just about anyone who eats and drinks kind of use their intuition and figure out what readers are looking for. So.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you on that. And, also having an interest within the niche, helps a lot as well to kind of come up with ideas and answers to the questions that you have, knowing that your traffic might have those same questions. Now, what was it that drove you or even motivated you while you were growing this business, Brian?
Provide for the family, really. This is something that I enjoyed doing. It was something that I was able to do working from home in between taking care of the kids. So it was important for me for me personally, like I worked out of the house for almost 10 years and then we got a family and, the wife and I decided that I would stay home. But personally, I feel the need to work. You tend to the kids quite a bit throughout the day, but there's also a lot of downtime. And so I wanted to do something productive. And this was a way for me to financially contribute to the household and, keep me away from eating bonbons and,
Yeah.
And it feels good to build a business, whether you need to or not, and that's what kept me going. And these days I contribute enormously to the household finances and, that's it. Why do we all work? We have to pay the bills. So that's the motivation.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you on that one. And then final question to wrap this up, Brian, putting yourself in the shoes of a buyer, why do you feel that your business is worth buying?
Oh, man, because this is largely, maybe not 100%, but this is largely an evergreen niche with good content. Just to buy this content alone, like if you just went out from scratch and tried to buy all this content, it'd be a huge investment. So you get the digital asset of the words, of the content. You've got the longevity of the domains and the longevity of organic traffic actually coming in. But again, like we mentioned a little while ago, the aspects of this business that I haven't even touched, like you can easily throw in internet email marketing into this mix. You could easily expand Pinterest marketing into this mix. YouTube is enormous right now. One of these properties actually gets traffic, but I haven't posted a video to it for like 5 years. So anyone who had any interest in any other form of internet marketing outside of just organic search, content marketing, there's large possibilities. The possibilities for growth are there. And I'm talking myself out of selling the package here, but but that's why I'm selling it, because I see all these opportunities. It could run on autopilot. I could let it run on autopilot for a long time. But when you own a business that's working well, you always want to make it better. And there are plenty of opportunities to make this better. Of course, those opportunities require a little bit of effort. So I'm selling because I don't want to put the effort in too many properties all at once. But if a buyer was out there and they wanted an established business that had some history behind it, but also had growth opportunity in front of it, there's probably other businesses out there that fit that description. But the package that we've got listed on with you guys, it's hard to beat to me.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. And even just kind of digging in the back end and seeing, all of the analytics and all of the revenue that's been generated for the business, it's a really solid investment and something that I'm really happy to see go to the next level. And I'm sure once we get this listing sold for you, I'm sure, the potential buyers that are looking at this can see the opportunities that are available, as you mentioned just now as well. So that pretty much wraps up the call, Brian. Was there anything else that you'd like to share that I might have missed?
No, I'm sure I'll think of something an hour from now. But no, I'm a long-winded guy, so apologize if nobody liked my long-winded answers. But yeah, I think that's it. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, no, it's really great. And, I'm sure we'll be getting this listing sold for you here in the next few weeks. And again, congratulations on the new addition to your family. And we'll be talking to you here pretty soon, Brian.
Thank you very much, Brandon.
Thank you. And all right, everyone. So thanks for listening. To learn more and to see if this listing has already been sold, head over to empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing number 47386. If you're watching this on YouTube, click the link in the description to go straight to the listing. And once you've unlocked this listing, you'll be given everything you need to know about this business. So until next time, enjoy your digital journey.